Hello, wonderful. This is Sarah, and I'm here with Sherica Matthews. And she is a life and relationship coach, helping those high achieving women find the love and life they want. Hello, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Sarah? Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm excited about our topic today because, as I told you a bit before we went on air, I've seen a lot of women recently, a lot of clients, super frustrated because they think something's happening, the guy's texting, they're getting some, they're like, oh, this might be something. And then he just falls away. And we use the term F boys. Maybe we could say falls away boys. No, I know the term F boys.
We'll call him falls away boy then. That's a nice term. We'll go with that one.
There's a show on HBO right now called F Boys. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. I haven't seen it yet, but I don't really watch that much TV lately, but I do want to check that show out.
Well, my next door neighbor is begging me to watch it. And I said, that's like what I do all day. Why, when I relax at night, do I want to watch these men on television?
I know, right? All I gotta do is go outside. There's plenty of them out there.
Yeah. So tell us how you describe those men and then what's going on.
So I would describe falls away boys, or sometimes I'll call them fuck boys, just to be, transparent there, is someone who doesn't have good intentions for you. There's someone who's always looking to get a lot more than what they give. And that's why we as women become frustrated. And it's something that I've went through. I'm sure you've experienced, as well as your listeners and my clients. Every woman, I don't care how smart you are, how talented, how successful you are, I am willing to guarantee that almost every woman has experienced a fuckboy in their lives. Someone who came into their lives with the sole purpose of getting what they can and then leaving. So that's how I describe it. And oftentimes when women get ghosted, that is a result of, number one, they couldn't get what they want out of you quick enough. Or number two, they realized that you just wasn't the one to play with. So they was like, let me just cut my losses short, because this is a game for them. That's really all it is.
Oh my gosh, I love that perspective, because it is easy to think, oh, did I say something wrong? Did he not like my profile picture? Was I not cute enough? Was I not thin enough? Was I not this? And so your perspective is, it could be they were looking to play games. They thought, I don't think I'm going to be able to play games with her. And that was actually a form of protection for you.
Yes, exactly. And then one thing that women, we definitely have to be careful of is getting too emotionally attached to the dating process. And that is a conversation by itself, right?
Yeah, but say a bit about it, because it's an important conversation.
Yes,
yeah.
Because we tend to attach our hearts and our feelings and our self-worth to the dating process, whether or not someone swipes right on us, whether or not someone calls us back or texts us back when, in 5, 10, 15 minutes, we are so attached to the process that we lose sight of what the goal is. Most of us women who are dating, our goal is to find a loving, committed relationship, hopefully long-term, and maybe even marriage, right? But we lose sight of that, and we base our feelings and our self-worth on how many men like us, how many men respond to us. But in reality, all you need is one. You're looking for that one, you're not looking for many. So we want to kind of lean back a little bit and look at the process as a process. It's just like cooking, right? You get a recipe, you have all the ingredients, and there's a process to go from the raw ingredients to the finished product, which, let's say cake, for example, right? Are you attached to the process of cooking? Do you get disappointed when the egg doesn't crack just in the middle of the egg to give you that perfect little fallout there? No. Your goal is to achieve that cake that's on the front of that Duncan Hines box, right?
Yeah.
So we have to approach dating and meeting different people in the same way. It's just a process to filter out the men who are not the right ones for you, so that you can get to that one who's going to be good for you.
So tell me a little bit about how you help people not emotionally attach to the process, because I think within the conversation of the F boys, if someone's really frustrated with the process, they can lower their defenses and start putting up with bad behavior, putting up with F boys, just because it's like, I heard someone say, they were like, I promised myself this is going to be my last date of 2020. And I was like, what? They said, well, I think this needs to work out because I promised myself this is going to be my last date of 2020. And I said, that you making that promise to yourself does not make this person a man of character.
Exactly. Oh, child. Let me tell you, I have a personal story on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm engaged now, but I used to be married.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I used to be married 10 years ago to end in divorce, right? And I was that woman you just described, where I said, okay, God, I'm ready to be married. I'm ready for my husband. Send me my husband. So guess what? I married the next man I met. Did not work out. The worst thing I could have ever done. So we often put limits on ourselves and put us in boxes. And that's why I say we get so attached and so committed to the process of dating on how it should unfold that we don't allow God or the universe or whomever to allow it to unfold in the best possible way for us. But I want to take a step back here, because when we talk about fuckboys, one thing we have to realize about fuckboys is that they're good. They look good, they smell good, and they talk that game real good. And that's how we get caught up in it, because superficially, they seem like they could be the one, right? We're physically attracted to them. They're saying all the right things. And there's an old saying that goes, women fall in love with their ears, men fall in love with their eyes. And the men who play these games with us understand that concept. They understand that women are typically sensual beings. So what they do, they make sure that they look good. They make sure they have that with that Colgate smile. They make sure that when they walk by you, that they leave a lingering scent. So you think about them 10 seconds after they don't walk by. And so we get attracted to that. And then we're like, okay, so we gave them our numbers, we're talking, and now we're planning on a date. But then they either never follow up with that, or they want to come to our house immediately, or they're seeking some other immediate benefit out of us.
Yeah.
And so we get caught up in that because now we're committed to making this thing work with someone who hasn't proven themselves.
Let's pause there. We are committed to making something work with someone who hasn't proven themselves. And that is the number one dating disaster. We think about red flags, what are the red flags of guys? But it's like, if you are committed to making something work before this person has proven themselves, that is the biggest red flag of all. Absolutely. And it's one we can control, right?
Absolutely. And when we say prove themselves, in simplest terms, it means that their words match their actions. Do they call when they say they're going to call? Do they show up when they say they're going to show up? Do they keep any other promises that they've made to you? That's the first level. Because dating, there's got to be gateways. I describe it. You remember that movie, Meet the Fockers?
I love that movie. Right? So funny. Yes.
And
a circle of trust, right?
Yes, the circle of trust. But there are gates to that. There's levels to this ish, right? So the first gate before they get too close to you is, do they keep their word? Do their words match their action? They call when they say they're going to call. They show up. Do they follow through? Then after that, now you're probably at the point where you're going out on your first or second date. Now you're trying to ascertain the character of that man. Because we let me tell you what we do too, because I've done the same thing. We have a list of what we want in a man, right? He's got to be tall, he got to have a good job, he has to have a car, a house, and all those things are good things. But when it comes to distinguishing between a fuckboy, a good man, and the right man, because there's a
good distinction. Yep.
Fuckboy, good man, and the right man is looking at the character traits that complement who you are as a woman and the woman that you are becoming. So this requires a lot of introspection for you as a woman to understand who you are, what your values are, and why you want the things in a man that you desire. Why do you want a man who makes six figures other than it may mean a good lifestyle? What's more important, six figures or good money management?
Mm-hmm.
What's more important, looking good on the outside or having really good, healthy habits?
Mm-hmm.
What's more important, saying I have a business or being able to balance his work life with his love life, with his personal life? Why do you want what you want, and how does it align with the woman you are becoming tomorrow? And you ascertain those type of character traits through conversation, through spending time with each other. And only when they meet those qualifications should you allow your heart to be invited to the party. You see, we invite our heart to the party as soon as they say hi. We invite our heart to the party as soon as they swipe right. We invite their heart to the party as soon as we have sex. And it is kind of a natural thing for women to get more emotionally involved when you begin having sex, but you can still guard your heart. You can still pull it back in and say, okay, heart, I hear you, I see you, I honor you. But let me bring my brain into the party too, because I don't want to get caught up in a situationship that's going to lead me nowhere.
And people ask me all the time how I met my husband. They never ask who I was when I met my husband. Right?
Yeah.
But those things that you're talking about, it's like, this is what fits, this is what doesn't fit, this is who I am, this is what I need, this is what my expectations are, this is like, and there is, you know, we had text several weeks before our first date we'd met, and then text several weeks before our first date. And then, so before our first date, we had communicated a ton. Yeah, I actually knew, I asked really good questions. I feel like I knew him. So I do want to be honest and say I had decided, I didn't think we'd get married because that would be crazy before our first date. But I did think I could see us really getting along in this relationship going somewhere. But that's different than saying I'm going to do everything I can to make this work. Right? It's like, okay.
Huge difference.
Yeah, the data is showing there's this, I'm probably very likely to get along with this person. So there's a real opportunity here. But people say, when did you decide he was the one? And I said, I still decide every day that he's the one.
Yes. Yes. You have to make that decision and the commitment on a daily basis.
But if he changes his behavior and all of a sudden he starts acting like a different personality or mistreating me, at that point, you know, bringing the heart to the party. I mean, I don't want to get divorced. I don't mean it that way. But when you think about the process of dating, people say, oh, I just want the decision-making process to be over. I want to ease the unrest of not having this decision made. So they bring their heart to the party too early, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what that's a real sign of? That's the sign that they don't trust themselves to make the right decision. And you got to heal that part first before you get out here and start dating. Because if you don't trust yourself to make the right decision, you're going to be led to the wrong decision by someone that you trust more. And usually you're going to trust the fuckboy, the words that he say without having the actions to back it up. And then you find yourself in a situationship. You find yourself heartbroken. You find yourself being taken advantage of. You know, so about a year ago, I had a similar conversation, right? And this woman, this made the news, but didn't stay in the news very long. Her name was Amy Cooper. She went in the news for one reason, and at the end, she was known for something else. But she was having an affair with a married man. And according to the news outlet, that married man convinced her to write him a $65,000 check to leave his wife, abort the baby that his other girlfriend had to come and be with her.
I believe that with all my heart. I do believe it. You know,
I have fuck boy. Can we say this is what happens when you don't trust yourself? This is what happens when you don't do your work first before getting out there. You're in a relationship with someone else's man. You allow another man to take advantage of you financially, and you allow a man to take advantage of you emotionally. You got to go back and do your work. You got to. Otherwise, he may not tell you to write a $65,000 check, but you might end up buying him a car and barely have two wheels to ride on yourself. You may invite someone to come live in your house and you're barely making rent yourself and he don't even have a job. Or you can find yourself chasing after a man, even though he's told you, I really don't want a relationship, or I just want to see where this thing goes, or, you know, I'm just kind of out here having fun. But what you really want is a relationship. And so you're just kind of calling him and texting him and keeping your calendar clear for him just in case he shows up. If you are in any of those types of situations, you need to pull back and do some inner work and learn to trust yourself, learn to follow, learn to listen and hear and recognize the voice of your intuition, and then learn to collect data. And that's something that you said earlier, you got to collect the data. We have to be scientists in this place, right? Yeah. Collect the data, form a hypothesis, and prove the theory. You can tell my background is in engineering, so.
No, I love it. I love it though, because women just get so frustrated with the data collection process. It's just like, how do I avoid collecting the data? How do I avoid the sorting? How do I avoid trusting myself to see if this is the right person? I mean, amazingly, they just try to avoid it with all costs. It's fascinating. I mean, people are put more effort into avoiding this process than they do avoiding cancer. I mean, they really do. It's just amazing.
Say that again, ma'am. Whoa.
Right?
I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. And I don't quite understand why. And I don't think women who want the easy button quite understand why either. You know, one thing that we can all agree on is that we as a human race, we were created for relationships. Yet relationships seems to be the one area that we want or have the desire to put in the most amount of work. How many of us read books? How many of us go to seminars? How many of us hire a coach or hire a therapist to work out our inner issues, right? A lot of us do as women, we really do. But there are so many more women who are not, or so many women who just do one step of the process and then stop. Learning how to date, learning how to be in relationships is a lifelong process, because as you learn, grow, and evolve, your understanding, your perspective, your perception changes as well. And if you don't allow yourself to evolve as you grow and evolve, you're going to be stuck. And you hear this when women say, oh, I want to meet a man the old-fashioned way. I want a marriage and a relationship like my grandparents. No, I don't. Wait, do you really understand what that means? Do you understand what went on behind the scenes and what it took to make that work? And did it really work? But that's a conversation for another day. Right?
Agreed.
You know, so, and then the understanding too is women think, and not just women, I'm going to say people in general, our generation, we forget that we have only been dating for probably less than 100 years. Did you know that? Yeah, I did this whole timeline. I did this workshop 2 weeks ago called Online Dating Made Simple, right? And in that workshop, I went over this timeline of dating where we've only been dating, not just as a Western society, but as a human race for 100 years. Because in the very beginning, we entered into marriages for survival of the tribes. Then that involved is we enter into marriages to build our wealth. So it went from survival to wealth building. And then I want to say in the 1800s, it started in Eastern culture, in Chinese culture, where they began courtships, where the parents were the one to say, okay, you have a son, I have a daughter. We're going to allow them to get to know each other growing up, knowing that when they turn 18 or 21 or whatever the age was at the time, they're going to be married so that they can continue on with our family line. It wasn't until the early 1900s that dating began to enter into Western culture. And even dating back then was looked down upon, because why would a woman go out with a man without parental supervision? She must be a hoe. She must be a prostitute. That was literally the mindset. So it's not until the 1940s where dating is actually socially acceptable. 1940s. Think about that. I think my parents weren't even born then. So your parents were probably the first generation who had complete freedom to date. Your parents. And then we came along and now we trying to figure this thing out. Then our children come along, they trying to figure this thing out. So we only got about 3 generations while we're still trying to figure out how to date in a world that's constantly changing from year to year, in a world where technology is changing from year to year, in a world where our sense of spirituality and religion is changing from year to year.
Well, in our expectations, I hear women being very attracted to the F-boy, right?
Yeah.
And I hear this question all the time. I love your opinion on it. It's like, well, but I'm not attracted to this nice guy. I'm not attracted to this good person. I'm not attracted to this situation. Can you dissect? Because probably the F-boy wasn't very attractive 100 years ago because they knew he was a scoundrel, because there was no character. He was in a community for long enough that people could say, Johnny's always drunk. Johnny's never showing up for work. And that wasn't attractive when it was based on survival. But now it's like, well, I can make my own money, so he just needs to look good on my arm, right? It's messed us up in more ways. So let's talk about that attraction.
And that's part of what it is. We may not be attracted to their character, but what we're attracted to is going to be one of two things. We're attracted to the drama that they bring, or we're actually attracted to the excitement that they bring. And those are two different things. Some women are so used to drama. They may have grown up where there was a lot of drama and trauma in their home. They have drama in their girlfriend relationships. There's drama at work. So it goes to follow there must be drama in their romantic relationships. And then there are those women who are the good girls. They're the ones who, follow the rules, have a good job and a, good social standing, but they're bored. They're bored and they're looking for someone who can add excitement into their life by what some people call toxic masculinity, but what a lot of women just see as being very masculine. Someone who can walk into a room. We call them alpha males too, right? Someone who can walk in a room and command attention. Someone who has the attention of every female that's out there. Someone who rides motorcycles. I'm guilty of that. I like a man who rides motorcycles, but we all have that one vice, right? We all want some sort of, I'm going to call it a sign or outward showing that they're really masculine, because number one, that's what we've been taught. Number two, that's all we saw growing up. And number three, it adds something to our lives that we don't currently have.
And I have a phrase that says neediness isn't sexy.
Not at all.
Neediness isn't sexy. If I'm missing excitement from my life, then I need a guy to fulfill that for me. That doesn't make me a better catch. It makes me a more dangerous catch, because good, there's a hole in her life. I can use that to catch her. There's a lack.
You're coming from a place of lack. And, and I teach women now, you want to create a life that you absolutely love before you start dating. Doesn't have to be perfect. But you have to come from a place of joy, come from a place of happiness in order to attract someone who's going to bring you a healthy amount of happiness and a healthy amount of joy. Because I see women even come through my programs right now who have financial strain, who hate their job, who has so much drama going on in their family dynamics, yet they want a man in their lives. So they're bringing all this void and lack and drama, and they want a man who's going to bring stability, want a man who's going to lead them, want a man who's going to love them and honor them. but yet they haven't created a life that they love, that they can say, hey, I want you to add to my life what I already have. Instead, the conversation is, I want you to bring something into my life that I don't even know how to create for myself.
And we would be so frustrated if the conversations were flipped and a guy came and said, look, I've got a lot missing from my life. I'm really uncertain. I'm really not sure how to fulfill it. So I'm going to put that pressure on you. Like, I'm going to expect you to be that Band-Aid. I'm going to expect you to fulfill that role for me. I'm going to expect you, maybe someone who really needs to be needed is going to think that's sexy. But for most healthy people are going, what? Well, I don't want to do that. Yeah.
But that happens more often than what you think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we think we have a healthy view of relationships. And we touched on this a little bit before we got on the call here. But some of that attraction to men who need you to fill a void for them comes from a lot of women's misguided belief on what submission is and what a helpmeet is. You're trying to submit and be a helpmeet to a man who ain't even your husband, who ain't even qualified to be in a relationship yet.
So I saw this girl, and she was in a how to be a wife class, and she wasn't engaged or anything. I was very concerned. I was like, I think maybe you're in the wrong class. I think, that she was trying to learn. She was a really strong personality and was trying to learn how to dumb herself down for a guy that I knew she was seeing that was terrible for her. And I knew his views on submission. And I was like, she is trying to learn how to be more submissive, less of a personality, how to dumb herself down. So maybe he asked her to marry him.
Yeah. Oh, that's another conversation. We put so much value on marriage. And I don't say that to say that marriage is not valuable. But what I'm saying is you should never lose yourself in the process of trying to get married. Why? Because what is the purpose of marriage? What is the purpose of relationships? The purpose of relationship isn't just to have sex. The purpose of relationship isn't just to have children. The purpose of relationship isn't just for financial stability. Those are the three things. If you ask any woman off the street, they'll tell you those three things, and a man would too. But when you take a step back and look at the purpose of relationships, even from the very beginning of time when there was arranged marriages, the purpose is improvement. The purpose is to become a better version of yourself. If that relationship isn't helping you to become a better version of yourself, then what are you doing? If you have to dim your light, if you have to shrink back to make someone else feel better, and I dated this guy several years ago, and I had just done my first live event, and he wasn't a coach, but he wanted to be have his own business and kind of do speaking engagements and stuff like that. He could not celebrate with me because he said to me, plain face, just as honest as he wanted, he said, your light may shine today, but my light gonna shine tomorrow. I was like, sir, we ain't even in the same highway, let alone the same lane. This is not a competition.
Wow.
But he felt some kind of way because we weren't married, we weren't engaged, we were just dating. He felt some kind of way because I did not give him a shout out at my event. When he didn't buy a ticket, he didn't bring any friends. He carried one box that weighed 2 ounces up to the room. I had vendors to thank. I had volunteers to thank. I had people who did actual work to thank. And we only been dating for a couple of months, sir. No, this is not a competition. And I don't have to shrink back who I am to make you feel better about who you are. The same way with women too. We cannot shrink back who we are for the sake of allowing a man to like us enough to marry us, because I guarantee you the man who's made for you, who's actually going to give you that long-term relationship that leads to marriage, has to love you for who you are. All of you, you are perfectly imperfect. your outgoingness, your flaws, your quirkiness, the way you dance in the shower, the way you know, put the toilet paper over instead of under, whatever that may be, he's going to love all of that. And if he cannot accept that part of you and help you become the next best version of yourself, then what are you doing? Does he have the capacity? Does he qualify to be with you for the rest of your life? And that's the perception shift that we have to change. Instead of acting as if we are interviewing for the job of a wife, we need to take on the posture of being the interviewer. And choosing whether or not this man or that man qualifies to get to the next level with me, qualifies to do life with me, qualifies to allow me to pour into his life to become a next version of himself. And does he have the qualities and the character traits to pour into my life to become the next best version of my life? If one of those things don't fit, then it's not a right match. We have to shift that.
I agree. So what advice do you give to women who are really frustrated if they're in, it's like, bad match, F boy, bad match, F boy, you know, and they get in that cycle of doom. Yeah, it's all doom and gloom. Dating's doom and gloom. Do you kind of tell them to persevere and keep going, take a break? What do you?
I tell them to do both, actually. I tell them to step back for a minute and gather yourself, because right now this dating process is stealing your joy. You cannot allow it to steal your joy. So step back and pour back into you to restore your baseline. Restore your baseline of joy. Restore your baseline of happiness. Restore your baseline of health. And then we decide to get back out there, specifically for online dating. Only be online for like 15 minutes.
Every single dating coach, that's the advice. And I'm like, no, that's what, but you know, it's like, well, it's been 3 hours. It's like, anyone would be exhausted by that. Like, anyone would be exhausted.
Right. You cannot maintain your peace of mind on any social platform for 3 hours. You can't maintain your peace of mind on any platform for more than an hour. So give yourself only 10 or 15 minutes to be online. If you are, you know, beating people out socially, you know, don't go out with the expectation, I'm here to find a man.
That's so important and so hard. Unless it's so disappointing.
Even if it's speed dating scenario, you're there to have fun. You're there to enjoy yourself. Every action that you take comes from a place of wholeness, not a place of desperation. If you feel as if you have to show up someplace to meet a man, you're going for the wrong reason. It may be a byproduct of why you're going, but you want to make sure that you're going to enjoy yourself. You're going to meet people. You're going to expand your circle. Because
neediness isn't sexy. Neediness isn't sexy, right? Maybe I'll find somebody tonight. Maybe I'll find somebody tonight. Maybe I'll find somebody tonight. You know, it's just, it's desperate energy for sure.
Yeah. And if you meet somebody tonight and he doesn't call tomorrow, it's okay. Because guess what? You're busy. You have a life that you love and you enjoy. And that's the importance of having that life, having that joy and happiness before you meet anyone, and maintaining that baseline of joy and happiness. So if someone doesn't come through for you the way you think they should, it doesn't disturb your baseline. It doesn't take away your joy, doesn't take away your happiness, doesn't take away your peace. And so we have to learn to pace ourselves to make sure that we are not getting caught up, but we are living our best lives and we're inviting someone to come and live their best life with us, not give us our best life.
Completely agree. Not give us our best life. I didn't mean to cut you off on that one. Yes. Not give our best life. So any advice on the F-boys? Because I know that sometimes the temptation can be, you're an F-boy, you're such a jerk, I can't believe you did this to me, I can't believe you hurt me like this. And I see you shaking your head for all our podcast listeners. So tell us why that's a bad strategy.
Why would you fuss at a burnt piece of toast that is burnt? It doesn't change what that toast is. It's a burnt piece of toast. Why give any more energy to someone after they reveal to you who they are? The best strategy is cut them off. Let me tell you, all my friends know from all of my life, my cutoff game is strong. My block game is strong. Once I figured out someone did not have their best interest for me, block. Before cell phones had a block feature, I actually changed the names of people in my phone to do not answer. So when it rang, I didn't actually know who it was. I just saw do not answer. All right, I won't answer. Cut it off. You don't need a conversation. You don't need an explanation. Well, I'm just a nice person and I want to give him a chance to explain. He explained with his character. He explained when his words did not match his actions. He explained when he did not honor your time and your feelings. You have your closure. You have your answer. But you have become emotionally connected. That's why you still want to have a conversation. So it's your responsibility to cut the cord.
And it's the trust in yourself. You talked about not trusting yourself too. So, well, I think maybe I misread this situation. Maybe they had a really good explanation for the fourth time. Maybe they have, right? And it's that trust. So when you say you had a strong block game, it's trusting yourself that you're making the right decision and seeing their true character.
Exactly. And you want to know how I got there? I actually wrote it down. So I went back and I wrote down all the times I thought that someone wasn't doing right. And I ended up being right about my gut. I ended up being right about my intuition. That is what helped me to learn to trust myself and to move forward without having so many conversations. So you have to look back on your life and ask yourself, name all the times you made good decisions. Name all the times you made good decisions in your relationship, or name all the times you made bad decisions in your relationships. I met Kevin, 5 years ago, and his words didn't match his action. He had a whole nother baby mama and blah, 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 blah. I did not trust myself when the sign was on the wall. And what I'm experiencing now is very similar to what that was 5 years ago. Let me not make that same mistake because I remember what happened then. I don't want to repeat that. So I'm going to let this go. You can call it ghosting, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to let it go because I know that I am worth more. I know that I deserve more. If he wanted to give me more, he either chose not to or he doesn't have the capacity to do it.
I do the exact same thing with reminding myself of my good decisions, because what I hear from women, I'm curious if your experience is the same, it's not that they didn't see red flags. It's that they didn't act on the red flags.
Yeah. Yep. So funny. So I actually just sent out an email to my list today. It says, make room for mistakes, not excuses for shitty behavior. And that's what we do.
Yeah, I do a little 3 strikes you're out in my own life. And it's like, okay, first, like, something's off or that's weird, maybe, but then if there's been 3 times, that's a pattern.
Yeah, exactly. That's a habit.
Yes.
That's a habit. There's a mistake, there are habits, and then there's just bad character. And there's no fix outside of therapy for bad character.
And it has to be someone who wants to be fixed. Not someone you drag to therapy in hopes that they will be fixed, right?
Exactly. Women, I promise you, and this is a place I had to grow out of as well. We want to be fixers. We want to be Olivia Pope from what's that?
Oh, I love Scandal. Oh, Scandal. Girl, yes. That is my show.
We want to have our white hat and riding in same today. No, stop it. It is not your job to fix any man. It is not your job to fix his problem. It is not your job to make him grow up. It is not his job to make him more. It is not your job. You can bring to his awareness that these are some areas that I don't like or don't appreciate. It's up to you to do the work to do something different. If you choose not to do the work, if you say you don't think it's a problem, then we need to have a conversation about if this is going to be a good fit for both of us. And it's okay if it's not. It's okay to walk away. But I am not entering anybody's relationship. I've been there, done that. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not fixing anybody, because guess what? When you try to fix someone, then you create a mother-child dynamic. You create an employer and employee dynamic. And guess what happens after that? You don't have a sex life, because ain't no man gonna want to sleep with his mama.
And then he's cheating on you, and then you're giving it another 3 years, another
Yeah.
5 years, another 8 years.
Yeah. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing it anymore. So no, we're not fixing. We're not, we're not trying to prove, oh, hear this a lot. I'm trying to show him that I can be his wife. You don't have to prove to anyone that you can be his wife. And this is where I was going with when I said help me. A lot of women try to be a man's helpmeet when they're not even qualified to be a husband. And when you look at what the definition is of a helpmeet, well, that's the original verbiage of the Bible. But it's just someone who comes into someone else's life to help them do what they're already doing. If they're not doing anything, you can't be their helpmeet. If they don't already have a job that they're trying to excel in, you can't help them be better at their job. If they're a father and they're not already being a father, you can't come in and help them be a better father. They have to be in the process of doing something before you can come into their life and help them do anything.
And something really important to note is our job is not to help them by ignoring bad behavior. Like, we're not here to help them become worse versions of themselves. And I see women look, well, I'm going to help him. In generations past, you talked about the evolution of dating. In generations previous, you were a good wife by not saying out loud what your husband was doing.
Yep.
Not telling the neighbors.
Stay behind closed doors. No, ma'am.
Keeping your husband's secrets was the unspoken definition of a good wife. Maybe it was spoken. I wasn't alive then, But now it's like we still have that in our cultural makeup or society makeup. And it's like, no. You helping him become a worse person. No.
We do it because we think we're protecting them.
Yes.
We do it because we protect those whom we love.
Mm-hmm.
Not realizing that your protection is really enabling them.
Mm-hmm.
I hear people say about other grown people, well, that's just the way he is. Well, if you are in an intimate relationship with this person, if the way he is not the best version of himself, if the way he is dishonors you, if the way he is disrespects you, if the way he is not helping you, then how are you bringing that to his attention? Because the way he is going to be detrimental to both you and him. And is that really love by continuing to give him space to be the way he is?
It's like my son, he would eat candy every night for dinner if I let him, right?
Oh, right.
And it's like if I said, that's just the way he is. Like, I've just got to love him. Like, if he wants Snickers bars every day, I've just got to love him until he has diabetes, And it's like, no, it's not loving to help people become the worst versions of themselves. It's not loving, nor is it kind. Nor is it kind.
Exactly. You can love them with correction.
Mm-hmm.
You can love them with grace to make mistakes. You can love them by helping them get back on the horse if that's what they choose to. But love is not enabling. And we have to disassociate that.
And help them get back on the horse if their actions show you they are doing the work of getting on the horse, not you pushing them on the horse, thinking.
And you may have to push them a little. They may be a little heavy. They may have short legs. They can get all the way over. So you might have to put a milk crate under them, help them boost them up. But they have already bought the horse.
Yeah.
They brought it to their house. They tried a couple of times unsuccessfully. And they said, hey, would you help me? I'm going to give you another prime example from my life. I dated a guy. I'm telling you, I've had all the experiences. I dated a guy. I did not know until after we had been together for a while, but he was a functioning alcoholic. And he was becoming a dysfunctional alcoholic to where he was a danger, not just to himself, but to others around him. So me being the good girlfriend got him into AA. And he was only in AA as long as I was around, which only lasted 3 months.
I believe it.
Yeah. I thought I was doing the loving thing by helping him improve himself. But what I did not step back and ask myself, is this something that he wanted? Did he take initial steps to find an AA program? Did he even admit that he was an alcoholic? He couldn't even admit it, but I was the one constantly pushing, constantly encouraging him, drove him to his meetings because he couldn't drive. But as soon as I was out of his life, it stopped.
Yeah.
And he's still self-medicating with drugs and alcohol.
And how many years has it been?
Ooh, about 7 years.
Aren't you sad you didn't waste 7 years?
Ah, girl, I'm
pushing
so sad.
him.
Can you see these tears right here? Can you see that, Paula? Girl, no.
Well, you were so fun, and I love this conversation. Will you tell people where they can find more about you?
Absolutely. I am active in both Instagram and Facebook. You can find me as Sherica A Matthews, as well as on my website, Sherica A Matthews with 2T's.com.
Awesome. So if you had 1 minute of wisdom that you got to be broadcast to the entire world, and it was just like, ooh, everyone gets to hear this and it'll change people's lives, what would you say?
Maintain your posture and wear your crown.
Mm.
When you think about posture is how you sit up. It's a correct alignment of your spinal cord. Maintain that correct posture when you're dating. Don't allow your posture to bend to the right or to the left or overextend yourself trying to be in a relationship, trying to make a man happy. Because once you realize who you are, once you realize your worth, and once you realize what you need in your life, your posture is going to sit up straight. And so you can't carry any more dead weight on your back. So maintain your posture, wear your crown because you look good with the crown.
Awesome. Thank you so much for helping us on our journey to becoming toxic person proof.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.